using your mind to drive. Well, it's something to imagine, and you not only imagined it, Scott, you actually did it. Why don't you tell us what inspired what we're looking at here, and we'll have a conversation.
Okay. Well, I am a neurosurgeon based out of Denver, and actually I'm a Princeton alum, and we're here at Princeton right now. But I at an engineering conference, but I'm not an engineer, a neurosurgeon. And I deal a lot with spinal cord injured individuals, do a lot of surgeries on them. And as you can imagine, mobility and independence is a huge thing for them. And there's only so much we can do in medicine for that. And so then we thought, well, let's start looking to the engineers. Human-machine interface technology, interfacing humans with machines to make up for the deficit in some way that they may have. Well, along the way, many of my patients talked about, gee, they'd love to be able to get in a car again, and many were even former race car drivers vocationally, and they wanted to get back into a race car of some sort. And that's when I thought, it would be wonderful to get a new adaptive sport for them. They have many adaptive sports, wheelchair basketball, rugby, sled hockey, they ski and so forth, but there was no motorsports. Well, during that time, I was fortunate. We happened to have one of the top NASCAR Cup teams, race teams in Denver, Furniture Row Racing. They won the NASCAR Cup Championships in 2017. I was able to approach the owner, Barney Visser, wonderful guy, and told him what we were doing. And he ultimately donated 2 NASCAR Cup cars for me during the racing season. Instead of giving it to his driver, Martin Truex Jr., gave it to us to use. And so I was able to get some engineering teams to modify it so paraplegics individuals can use it just with hand controls. But then we wanted the quadriplegic individuals to be able to use it, those that even could not move their arms and legs to any degree. So we developed a racing helmet system, where just if you turn your head right and left, it turns the steering wheel, and you go right or left, and blow into a little straw, little puff into it will engage the throttle, and you go fast, and you just breathe back into it, disengages the throttle, hits the brake, they slow down. And so this car goes to racing events. NASCAR's embraced us, and so goes to racing events around the country, different NASCAR tracks. We get people regionally in the car where the elite NASCAR Cup driver drives them at near speed, and then they get in and drive them themselves with a professional driver for safety reasons. So that's the fun part of this. And then, of course, a major goal in this is to develop this human-machine interface technology to help these folks to develop technologies they need in their lives. So it could be drive technologies, it could be environmental controls in the home, it could be communication systems, it could be exoskeletons, things to, if they can't move their hands and fingers, making a bionic glove that can just move the hands and fingers. So we're hooking up with my alma mater. I spoke to Professor Jim Sturm, who was my classmate in the engineering department, and now Professor Kornheiser, who holds this Smart Driving Car Summit here. And just to combine our forces to get their engineering department to work with us to help develop these drive technologies and other human-machine interface technologies, and the students as well, where they can do their senior theses with us. And so that's it in a nutshell.
That's really cool, and I'm curious, how long does it take for someone to figure out? I know, a 16-year-old, I don't want to put him on the wheel, behind the wheel just immediately, but, understanding how to move your head the right amount and stuff like that, does it take a while for them to figure that out?
And we didn't know that, but it's astounding. It's usually the first shot. They just get in there. Many of these folks are used to driving their wheelchairs with a little straw. It's called a sip and puff device, where they just blow into it and makes it go forward or back. So many of them have that experience, but many do not, because where they can still drive their electric wheelchair with their hand. But amazingly, the sensitivity of this was so good that usually they just get into it. It may take them 10-15 seconds of driving it at a slow speed, and then they realize, I got great control of this with that technology.
I would imagine the general knowledge that'll come out of this could inform a lot of different use cases beyond the fun race track type application, huh?
Yeah. Well, we hope that we believe it's going to lead to drive technologies for wheelchairs, golf carts that disabled people use, but even drive technology. I know we're going to the autonomous vehicles. This is more of a semi-autonomous thing where people still want to participate, and so we want to get the safety systems, auto correction systems, and so forth that's in the autonomous vehicle realm, and even just cars we buy today. So we want to keep advancing this so that, one day we can get folks more disabled can drive their own vehicles, and the wheelchairs and other systems like that, where you control with just a head and mouth, if that's all you need.
It sounds like you've got a great relationship with NASCAR, the way you're going to regional events and so forth.
Yeah, NASCAR's really embraced us. We're really fortunate that way. And even the motor vehicle companies, there's Toyota, Ford, Chevrolet, are the main car sponsors. They each put one of their cars in NASCAR, and they're starting to embrace us as well. So we've been very fortunate, and the NASCAR drivers. So this is great for us to bring it to NASCAR events, venues. The NASCAR drivers themselves help out our folks driving them, and getting us sponsorship just to keep this program going.
So Scott, why don't you tell us how you and Art met?
Art came to me as a patient, actually. And Art, I don't recall how you got your original injury, but remind me.
Well, I got an old injury, just a diving accident as a kid. Recovered from that, and then went downhill after 20 some odd years, and a couple failed surgeries. And I actually did some homework, and through my research I found Dr. Falci. And basically, as a side thing, once I was already there and going to have the surgery, we sort of, I don't even know how we got to talking about the cars, but...
I know how we did it. Art told me he was an engineer and into drive systems and so forth. So I told Art, I said, all right, if you're happy with the surgery, I'm going to ask something of you. I want you and your engineering firm to work on our NASCAR Cup car. And then I realized how talented he was, and he has an entire firm, and I said, all right, I got to take advantage of this.
And so what sort of engineering do you do?
We do advanced engine component design, primarily ignition systems, actually. So we're doing a lot of stuff for the Department of Defense at the moment, but we did do a lot of automotive stuff previously and are just getting back into it now. So
I imagine some of those devices we saw to control the car then you're doing? Or?
Well, no, most of my stuff is inside the engine, but it's being an engineer and actually being paralyzed gives you a slightly different perspective than the average engineer when doing something for an adaptive purpose. So I think I can benefit the team.
Yeah, what was done here was done by our lead engineers out in Denver, Dream Tech, the original stuff, but I've got a whole second team with different focus. I mean, Art, I know, works with various military technology and so forth, and one of the things we want to do is get some of the military technology, like what the fighter pilots use with their heads-up displays on their helmets, missile lock, all that other kind of stuff that we can use for civilian modes, and that's one of the focuses Art's going to do for us.
I was thinking eye tracking type technology would probably be brilliant for this, right?
Absolutely.
You got it.
One of the things he said is you're doing a lot of this, I guess, volunteer, right? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, it's I do have a day job still, even with this condition. So, but I end up having varied interests, and this happens to be one of them.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful, and it seems like you could provide a great lesson to engineers as far as thinking about the users that will be using whatever they're designing, right?
Yeah, because I can speak directly from basically an internal perspective of saying, hey, it's not going to work because the person can't do this. Here's how I know that, because watch.
Exactly. Well, it sounds like we're being called for dinner, so I appreciate your time and
Sure, thank you.
and good luck with this. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.